Hello, welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper reading. Today we are going to discuss the important issues appearing in the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 19 September 2019. The news to be discussed has been presented on the screen and timestamping for the same has been provided in the description box below. So let's start our today's discussion. The first news appears on page number 1. It says, Cabinet approves ban on e-cigarettes. It cites needs to protect public health. So in a major health and wellness initiative for the country, the Union Cabinet has approved the promulgation of prohibition of electronic cigarettes production, manufacture, import, export, transport, sale, distribution, storage and advertisement ordinance of 2019. So this ordinance effectively bans production, manufacture, import, export, transport, sale, distribution, storage as well as advertisement of e-cigarettes, and the advertisement also includes online advertisements. Now this initiative of the Union Cabinet has been taken as per Article 47 of the Indian Constitution, which promotes safety of public health by the Government of India, where Article 47 mentions that the state shall ensure improvement of public health among its primary duties, and in particular state shall endeavour to bring about prohibition of the consumption except for medicinal purposes of intoxicating drinks and of drugs which are injurious to health. So in pursuance of Article 47 of the Indian Constitution, the Government of India has promulgated this ordinance to ban e-cigarettes. Now this topic from your prelims perspective becomes a part of general science as well as Indian polity, since it's talking about an ordinance which is banning e-cigarettes. Now e-cigarettes or electronic cigarettes are battery operated devices which produces aerosols by heating a solution containing nicotine. Now aerosols are suspension of fine solid particles or liquid droplets in the air. And aerosols can be both natural as well as anthropogenic, that is created by human activity. Now since this e-cigarettes produces aerosols by heating a solution containing nicotine, so effectively the main constituents of solution includes nicotine, propylene glycol as well as different flavoring agents. Now there are certain health risks with excessive use of these e-cigarettes. So the main health risk is nicotine overdose by ingestion. Another health risk is irritation in eye as well as respiratory system, and this is mainly due to exposure to propylene glycol. Excessive use of e-cigarettes also pose a risk to pregnant women. Now as per the studies, it's also found that aerosols usually contains carcinogenic compounds, that is such compounds which may cause cancer. So these are some of the health risks posed by e-cigarettes. Now another reason behind banning the use of e-cigarette is excessive use of these e-cigarettes by youth and children, which effectively leads to the habit of smoking cigarettes. So considering all these aspects, the government has decided to ban the use of e-cigarettes in India. Now upon promulgation of this ordinance, any production, manufacturing, import, export, transport, sale including online sale, distribution as well as advertisement including online advertisement shall be categorized as a cognizable offence and includes both the provisions of imprisonment or fine or both, that is both imprisonment as well as fine. And the offences has been categorized as first offence as well as subsequent offence. So when the offence is committed for the first time, then imprisonment shall be up to 1 year and fine shall be up to rupees 1 lakh or both. And for subsequent offence, the imprisonment can be up to 3 years and fine can be up to rupees 5 lakhs or both. Now storage of e-cigarettes shall also be punishable with an imprisonment up to 6 months and fine up to rupees 50,000 or both. Now the bill also provides for the provision for those who already own e-cigarettes. As per the bill, it says that the owners of existing stocks of e-cigarettes on the date of commencement of this ordinance will have to by themselves declare and deposit these stocks with the nearest police station. And for this job, the sub-inspector of police has been designated as the authorized officer. Now we have studied that production, manufacturing, import, export, transport, sale, including online sale, distribution and advertisement shall be a cognizable offence with respect to e-cigarettes. Now cognizable offence has been defined under Code of Criminal Procedure. And cognizable offence means a case in which a police officer may arrest without warrant. And cognizable offences are usually offences which are serious in nature, like murder, rape, dowry death, kidnapping, etc. So this ordinance will ensure effective and timely action against the trend of use of e-cigarettes, especially among the young generation. It will further advance tobacco control efforts, which will lead to better public health outcomes. And this effort is also taken in pursuance of Article 47 of the Indian Constitution. And Article 47 is a part of Directive Principles of State Policy. Further, this step will also contribute to reduction in tobacco usage and decline in associated economic and disease burden. Hence, it will not only reduce tobacco usage but also decrease disease with respect to these use of tobacco. Now, this news also highlights that so far 16 states and 1 union territory has already banned use of e-cigarettes. Further, even the Indian Council of Medical Research in a recent paper had recommended a complete ban on the use and sale of these e-cigarettes. Not only that, even the World Health Organization has urged member nations to take appropriate steps to ban or to curb use of these e-cigarettes, mainly to decrease their use among youths and children. The next article appears on page number 11. It says, Nigeria's war against wild polio virus approaches a climax. The country could be declared polio-free next year. Now in 2018, there were only 3 countries where transmission of polio virus was occurring, that is Nigeria, Afghanistan and Pakistan. But in 2019, Nigeria has been successful in eradication of polio. So Nigeria has crossed an important milestone in the eradication of polio, as it has successfully completed 3 successive years without a single case of report of wild polio virus. And a country is said to have eradicated polio when no fresh case of wild polio virus is reported for 3 successive years. So now Nigeria can be said to be polio-free country. So we can say that wild polio virus is endemic only in 2 countries, that is Afghanistan and Pakistan. And as of September 2019, 16 cases of wild polio virus has been reported in Afghanistan, whereas 62 cases of wild polio virus have been reported in Pakistan. So we see a rise in number of cases with respect to wild polio virus in Pakistan. So in this backdrop, it's also important to know about these cases of wild polio virus, especially in Afghanistan and Pakistan, because both these countries border India. Now this topic in your prelims examination forms a part of general science, and in your mains it gets covered under GS paper 2, specifically under issues relating to health. The most important thing about polio is that it is a highly infectious disease caused by a virus. It invades the nervous system and can cause paralysis in matter of hours. It is transmitted by person to person spread mainly through the fecal oral route. It's also transmitted by contaminated water and food and gets multiplied in the intestines. Another important fact is that polio mainly affects children under 5 years of age. There is no cure for polio, and it can only be prevented by giving vaccines at appropriate time to the children. Now with respect to wild polio virus, there are 3 types of wild polio virus. That is type 1 poliovirus, type 2 poliovirus and type 3 poliovirus. And people need to be protected against all these 3 different types of the poliovirus in order to prevent polio disease, and the polio vaccination is the best protection. Now there are 2 types of vaccines used to protect against polio diseases. One is oral polio vaccine and the other is inactivated polio virus vaccine. Now, oral polio vaccine is used in many countries to protect against polio diseases and has been essential in the eradication effort. Now, it is given orally as birth dose for institutional deliveries. And then 3 primary doses are given at 6, 10 and 14 weeks respectively. And further, one booster dose is also provided when the baby grows to 16 to 24 months. Now, with respect to inactivated poliovirus vaccine, two fractional doses are given at 6 and 14 weeks respectively on right upper arm of the child. Another important point to be noted is that children who receive only oral polio vaccine may shed the virus and can infect other people, especially those who are not vaccinated. So those children who only receive oral polio vaccine without receiving the inactivated polio virus can transmit the disease to other people or other children. Further, inactivated poliovirus vaccine protects the children against all the three types of poliovirus. So these are some of the important aspects with respect to polio, wild poliovirus, as well as oral polio vaccine and inactivated poliovirus vaccine. Now this article highlights that because of insurgency in Nigeria, the health workers could not reach the interiors to provide children with these poliovirus vaccines. So the Nigerian government trained the military personnel as vaccinators in order to reach out to more children of the region. Now many of the areas of Nigeria have insurgency problems, so health workers were accompanied by security personnel, and because of this they were able to immunize 80% of the children of the region. And these 80% of the children were provided with doses of vaccine which contained type 1 and type 3 polioviruses vaccine. This article further elaborates that military persons were themselves able to reach out to 26% of the children of the area. So this article effectively highlights about the steps taken by the government of Nigeria in order to eradicate polio virus. Now with respect to India, India received polio-free certification on 27th March 2014 by the World Health Organization. Now to eradicate polio virus from India, the Indian government is taking various steps to improve routine immunization coverage. And this also involves administering polio vaccines in addition to other vaccines under the Universal Immunization Program. So, through Universal Immunization Program, the Indian government is providing vaccination free of cost against certain preventable diseases such as diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, polio, measles, severe form of childhood tuberculosis, hepatitis B, meningitis and pneumonia, Japanese encephalitis, especially in endemic districts with introduction of newer vaccines such as rotavirus vaccine, IPV, adult JE vaccine, PCV, as well as measles rubella vaccine. So these are the different diseases under which vaccination is provided free of cost under the Universal Immunization Program of the Indian government. Now in this backdrop, you should also know about Mission Indradhanush. The purpose is to achieve full immunization coverage for children up to the age of 2 years as well as for pregnant women. Now this topic becomes important because a question was also asked in the prelims of 2016. So let's go through this question asked in the pre of 2016. The question was, Mission Indradhanush launched by the Government of India pertains to, options were immunization of children and pregnant women, construction of smart cities across the country, India's own search for the Earth-like planets in outer space, and new education policy. So in this the correct answer was A, that is immunization of children and pregnant women. The next news to be discussed appears on page number 10 in the editorial section. It says, the Taliban problem. Terrorists will not be keen on talks, but finding a solution to the Afghan crisis must continue. Now this editorial highlights that security challenges for the Afghanistan government to conduct presidential election has increased, especially after the cancellation of US Taliban peace talks. Now Taliban has asked civilians to stay away from political gatherings and rallies as Taliban does not want the election to be legitimized. So, Taliban has cautioned for more attacks in Afghanistan, especially after the collapse of US Taliban talks. So, recently Taliban have conducted various explosive attacks in Afghanistan. On 5th September, a Taliban car bomb exploded in Kabul's diplomatic enclave, which killed an American soldier, a Romanian service member, and 10 civilians. Further, on 2nd September, in an attack by Taliban, 16 people were killed and over 100 were injured. And very recently, Taliban has detonated a truck packed with explosives outside a hospital in southern Afghanistan. So it is in this backdrop, this editorial highlights the challenges faced by Afghanistan government with respect to conduct of election as well as the security of the area, especially after cancellation of US Taliban peace talks. Further in this analysis, we'll also try to understand the impact of cancellation of US Taliban peace talks on Indian government. Now this topic from your prelims perspective becomes a part of current events of international importance, and from your mains it becomes a part of GS paper 2 with respect to India and its neighborhood relations, as well as effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interest. Now Taliban refer to themselves as the Islamic Emirates of Afghanistan. They are a Sunni fundamentalist political and military organization, and they have been waging war in Afghanistan. Another important aspect is that they are ideologically more closer to Pakistan. So these are some of the basic facts with respect to Taliban. Now, even while Taliban was negotiating with the United States, it did not suspend its terror campaign in a sign to show their ability for continued destruction of the region. So in such a situation of imminent threat from Taliban, conduct of election seems extremely difficult. And because of these assassination threats from Taliban, the president is now conducting his political rallies through Skype. So in this backdrop, this editorial highlights that the regional and international players must help Afghanistan government to overcome the entire problem raised by Taliban. The fundamental problem with the United States Taliban peace process was that it excluded the Kabul government, or it excluded the government of Afghanistan from these peace talks. And this was done at the insistence of Taliban, supported at the backdrop by Pakistan. And acceptance of this proposal by Taliban was considered as a major compromise by the United States, because even during the conduct of the talks, Taliban did not suspend their terror campaign in a sign to show their ability for continued destruction of the region. So again, non-suspension of terror activities by Taliban even during these peace talks became one of the major problems with respect to these peace talks between US and Taliban. So effectively, President Trump announced that the Taliban cannot agree to a ceasefire during these very important peace talks and would even kill 12 innocent people. Then they probably do not have the power to negotiate a meaningful agreement anyway. Now with respect to US and Taliban, Afghanistan has been ravaged by war since 2001 when a US-led coalition overthrew the Taliban. Now as of now, there are around 14,000 United States soldiers along with 17,000 NATO soldiers in Afghanistan. So Taliban had also demanded for complete withdrawal of such US troops from Afghanistan. Now many security analysts in Afghanistan and elsewhere had criticized this US-Taliban talks as it had kept the Afghanistan government outside the purview, as many believed that these talks would have legitimized the Taliban, which itself is a terror organization nurtured by Pakistan over years. So when this talk was cancelled, even India had a sigh of relief, as India was always skeptical of the outcome of United States Taliban talks because it had completely sidelined the Kabul government or the Afghanistan government. India also took a sigh of relief because India knew that Pakistan was playing a very active role in bringing Taliban to the negotiating table with the United States. Pakistan believes that Taliban has a major role to play in Afghanistan, whereas India believes Taliban to be a non-state actor. Further, India believes that the talks with Taliban and United States had to do more with US withdrawal from Afghanistan rather than establishing a permanent roadmap for peace. Further, many in the security establishments also believed that the withdrawal of foreign troops from the country will push Afghanistan back to medieval times because of Taliban, and this will also push the country into a never-ending civil war. And if Afghanistan slips into a full-fledged civil war, then it would have been easier for Pakistan to push Afghan jihadis into Kashmir. So considering all these aspects, Government of India was extremely relieved when the US Taliban peace talks were cancelled. Now with respect to way forward, Taliban cannot be allowed a free run to destroy lives and properties at will in Afghanistan. So there is a need for comprehensive push for peace not only by the United States but also by major regional players including India, Pakistan, China, Russia as well as Iran. So effectively, the United States should continue to engage with Kabul government, put pressure on Pakistan to crack down on Afghan Taliban, double its own counter-insurgency operations in Afghanistan, and also invite regional players such as Pakistan, Iran, Russia, India and China to take part in diplomatic efforts to free Afghanistan from violence and destruction caused by Taliban. So this editorial also gains significance from an Indian perspective. Now after our discussion, this forms your practice question for mains examination. It says, highlight the significance of failure of peace talks between United States and Taliban for India. And this question is of 10 marks. So I hope after our discussion, you'll be able to attempt this particular question. Now this news appears as a lead article on page number 10. It says, Obama was right about Iran. Unlike his carrot and stick policy with Tehran, his successor, Donald Trump's unilateralism has failed the regional order. Now this article highlights the failures of Donald Trump's maximum pressure policy on Iran. And this has resulted in extreme backlash by Iran, which US could not anticipate. This article further mentions that policy followed by Barack Obama of carrot and stick and consolidating international opinion both by allies and partners was more appropriate as Iran accepted the offer of US-Iran nuclear deal under the sanctions of IAEA, that is International Atomic Energy Agency. So in this backdrop, let us understand the failure of maximum pressure policy by Donald Trump and what the US could not anticipate from Iran. Now this topic in your mains comes under GS paper 2 under effects of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interest. Now this topic also gains significance because a question in your mains examination was asked in 2018 in GS paper 2. The question was, in what ways would the ongoing US-Iran nuclear pact controversy affect the national interest of India? How should India respond to this situation? So going through the question, we understand that the US-Iran nuclear pact becomes very important even from an Indian perspective. So first of all, let us understand the basics of JCPOA, also known as Iran Nuclear Deal. JCPOA stands for the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. And as said, it's also commonly known as the Iran Nuclear Deal or the Iran Deal. Now this deal is an agreement on the Iranian nuclear program which was reached in Vienna on 14 July 2015. This agreement was reached between Iran and P5+1 members along with the European Union. Now P5 here refers to the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, that is China, France, Russia, United Kingdom and United States, and +1 here refers to Germany. Another important aspect of the deal was that this deal was to be verified by International Atomic Energy Agency. So the compliance of Iran nuclear deal was to be verified by International Atomic Energy Agency. So this was the JCPOA or the Iran nuclear deal. Now United States pulled out of the nuclear deal in order to put the maximum pressure policy on Iran. The United States had hoped that renewed pressure tactics would force Iran to return to talks so that the United States could bargain for a tougher deal. And this was what Donald Trump had hoped for. However, Iran responded in a very unexpected manner. And this unpredictability of Iran's response on unexpected lines have further destabilized West Asia. And the latest example is the destruction of 2 Saudi oil installations near the Gulf Coast which were attacked on September 14, 2019. And this has forced the Saudi Arabian government to cut its oil supply. Now United States has blamed Iran for the incident and in the pretext has threatened to strike Iran. However, it is the Houthi rebels which has claimed responsibility for the attack. Now Shia Houthi rebels are close to Iran, so involvement of Iran in the latest destruction of 2 Saudi oil installations cannot be denied. So this attack on oil installation in Saudi Arabia has shown 2 things. First, it has shown Iranian capability and influence in the entire region of West Asia. Further, it has also exposed Saudi Arabia's failure to defend its own oil installation through its air force. So effectively, even the United States failed to foresee the magnitude of Iran's resistance and response when the US started putting maximum pressure policy on Iran. So seeing US policy of maximum pressure and economic sanctions put by United States, Iran started taking various steps in desperation. So after United States withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal, Iran waited for almost a year so that the other members who were part of the deal, that is P5+1, they could help Iran with respect to fixing this deal with United States. However, none of the country came forward to help Iran. And in the meanwhile, United States slowly started applying economic sanctions on Iran. And by May 2019, the government of United States effectively cut out Iran's oil industry from the global economy. This dented Iran's economy, and because of this, Iran started to take certain steps out of desperation. So, faced with a precarious economic situation and mounting US pressure, Iran adopted a two-way approach. First, it started violating the nuclear deal step by step, and second, it started targeting oil supplies through the Strait of Hormuz. As you can see in this map, this is the Strait of Hormuz, which connects the Arabian Sea with that of the Persian Gulf, and this acts as a major choke point applied by Iran. So it says that the second strategy adopted by Iran was to target oil supplies through the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point between the Gulf and the Arabian Sea, through which a third of crude oil exports are transported on tankers pass. So Iran started choking this particular area through which various tankers were passed to different countries including India. So in this backdrop, Iran is effectively hoping for a relief from the United States, but it is not ready to surrender to the terms of United States of maximum pressure policy. It is because Iran believes that it is only because of the United States a functional JCPOA was broken because of US withdrawal. Now another important point to be highlighted is that after withdrawal of United States from the deal, the entire balance of power in Iran shifted towards more hardline approach. And because of this shift in the balance of power towards more hardliners, Iran as of now is showing its capability in the Gulf if it is not allowed to trade without any further sanctions. So it says that during the nuclear talks, the Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei had backed Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. But now the tables have changed. So now it is the security establishment that appears to take the shots, where these security establishments are having a more hard-lined approach towards United States as well as the entire Gulf region. Now Iran is also taking this hard-line approach with respect to United States because it still fears that Donald Trump may launch an open-ended war in the region anytime. So because of all these aspects, now Iran has started showing off its capabilities in the Gulf, and the latest catastrophe is the attack on two oil installations in Saudi Arabia. So effectively this article highlights that Iran as of now is ready to stake everything for its economic independence in a hope that the US withdraws these economic sanctions which have been put on Iran. Now another aspect highlighted in this article is with respect to the steps taken by Donald Trump and steps taken by former President Barack Obama. It mentions that the step taken by Barack Obama was quite different from that of Trump's maximum pressure policy because Obama's approach was more strategic in nature, as its only agenda was to deny Iran a nuclear bomb, and on that basis Obama did not act unilaterally on these sanctions, where Obama consolidated international opinion along with opinion of allies as well as partners with respect to whatever steps that was needed to be taken on Iran. And it was because of the strategic steps taken by Obama, Iran agreed for a nuclear deal with United States. So effectively, Barack Obama imposed UN recognized sanctions and then offered the olive branch of talks. And this was a classic example of carrot and stick policy. So unlike Mr. Trump, Mr. Obama did not threaten Iran because he knew of the repercussions. Further, he also did not like the fact that hardliners start taking policy decisions within the Iranian regime. So effectively, because Obama believed for peace in West Asia, Saudi Arabia as well as Iran, he did not take any unilateral decisions, especially with respect to maximum pressure policy. The next news appears on page number 22. It says, 2 of 3 child deaths due to malnutrition. Analysis of health data finds that Assam, Bihar, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh are the most affected states. Now, under the India State Level Disease Burden Initiative, first comprehensive estimate of disease burden due to child and maternal malnutrition trend and its indicator in every state from 1990 onwards has been released. India State Level Disease Burden Initiative is a joint initiative of Indian Council of Medical Research, Public Health Foundation of India, and Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation. So you can go through the summary of the report in the PDF provided along with this DNS. Now from your prelims perspective, this topic forms a part of social development and in your mains gets covered under GS paper 2, especially with respect to issues relating to health. So in this analysis, let us understand the basics with respect to malnutrition. It says that malnutrition refers to deficiencies, excesses or imbalances in a person's intake of energy or nutrients, and it includes 3 broad groups for conditions. So point to be noted is that malnutrition refers to deficiencies, excesses or imbalance in a person's intake of energy or nutrients, and the 3 broad groups are: first, undernutrition, which includes wasting, that is low weight for height, stunting, that is low height for age, and underweight, that is low weight for age. The second is micronutrient related malnutrition, and the third is overweight or obesity. So point to be noted is that even overweight and obesity comes within the definition of malnutrition. So it says overweight, obesity and diet related non-communicable diseases such as heart disease, stroke, diabetes and some cancers. So all these are aspects of malnutrition. Further, it mentions about determinants of malnutrition, and there are 3 determinants of malnutrition. First, immediate determinants, second, underlying determinants, and third, basic determinants. Now, immediate determinants include insufficient dietary intake, absorption and inadequate prevention and management of disease or infections. Underlying determinants include lack of access to health and child care services, lack of safe drinking water, sanitation, and lack of hygienic environments. Further, also lack of access to household food security and livelihoods. So all these are underlying determinants with respect to malnutrition. And the last is basic determinants, which includes factors such as poverty, livelihoods, social protection, safety nets, agriculture, public distribution systems, education and communication. So these are the 2 important aspects with respect to malnutrition. So after our discussion, these forms your practice question for the day. What you can do is to take a pause of 5 seconds. Question number 1. It says, consider the following statements about e-cigarettes. First, Indian government has passed a law to ban e-cigarettes, whereby it has imposed imprisonment and fines for its storage or purchase. Yes, the statement is correct. Second, it produces aerosols by heating a solution containing nicotine. Yes, this is also correct. Third, it causes irritation in eyes and respiratory system due to propylene glycol. Yes, this statement is also correct. So in this, the correct answer is D, that is 1, 2 and 3. Second question, it says, consider the following statements about polio. First, it is caused by bacteria. No, this statement is incorrect as it is caused by virus. Second, it invades nervous system and can cause paralysis. Yes, this statement is correct. So in this, the question is, which of the statements given above is are correct? The correct answer is B, that is 2 only. Question number 3, it says, consider the following statements about the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. First, it is commonly referred as the Iran nuclear deal. Yes, the statement is correct. Second, it was signed between United States and Iran only. No, this is incorrect as it was signed between Iran and P5+1 along with the European Union. Third, IAEA does not have any authority to verify compliance by Iran. No, again this statement is incorrect because IAEA has authority. So the question was, Which of the statements given above are correct? So the correct answer here is 1 only, that is D. Question number 4. Strait of Hormuz connects which of the following? Options are Persian Gulf and Red Sea, Persian Gulf and Arabian Sea, Red Sea and Indian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean and Mediterranean Sea. So here the correct answer is Persian Gulf and Arabian Sea.